Hey everyone, it's Dave Barnett again, talking about local deal making. If you found this video on YouTube, you might want to check out my blog, investlocalbook.com. I try to put something up every day talking about local deal making, local investing, buying and selling small businesses, running small businesses, things like that. So today I wanted to tell you the story of the guy who was trying to start a tour company. And let's call him Bill, which is not his real name. So Bill first came to me back when I began brokering business loans, back probably in 06 or 07 likely. And he came to me because he wanted to start a tour company. He wanted to do day excursions, overnight trips to concerts in cities that were like a 10, 12-hour drive away. Week-long excursions like holiday trips, things like that. So he came to me because he was trying to get financing to buy a bus. And I talked to him for a while, and I asked him, I said, why do you want to buy a bus? Why wouldn't you just develop a list of clients, create the packages, sell the packages, and then hire a bus company, rent the bus with the driver? And he told me that bus companies charged too much money, and that he wouldn't be able to make a profit if he had to hire a bus to do his tour. And it's a very interesting kind of question, because when I was a business broker, I ran into this exact problem when it came to small businesses owning real estate, and I have already done a video about that. What I said to Bill was, there are a lot of different companies out there that will rent you a bus with a driver. There's competition. So because these guys are competing against each other, it would be fair to assume that they probably are not making an extravagant profit in their business. They're probably making a reasonable profit, but not an extravagant profit. Because in a free market system, and a bus rental doesn't suffer from any government interference, outside of maybe safety regulations or something. But in a free market, whenever somebody starts to make profits that are too big, it will invite competitors onto the field. People will say, hey, there's Joey. He's got one bus that he does tours every once a month, and he lives in $1 million house. Maybe there's money in that. Let's buy buses and get into that. And then pretty soon, Joey's got competition, and the price of renting a bus starts to fall until Joey, can only afford the $150,000 house. That's how markets work. So I said to this guy, Bill, who wanted to start the tour company, I said that price that the tour company is, the bus company is looking for, is the amount of money it costs to cover the capital depreciation on the bus, which is a very expensive thing. It covers the labor of the guy who drives it. It covers the true fuel and maintenance costs and upkeep costs of that bus, and gives a reasonable profit margin, which is probably much smaller than you think. And if your tour company can't afford to pay the bus company that amount of money, then in all likelihood, when you own a bus of your own, you won't be able to pay those costs either. So why not just hire the bus and look at it as the true cost of ownership? He didn't want to listen. He said, no, I need to own my own bus. If I own my own bus, my costs will be lower. I'll be able to make more money. The problem was, this was a startup scenario. He didn't have an operating business at that time. And the cardinal rule of borrowing money for business is that you have to be able to demonstrate cash flow that you're going to be able to repay the loan, interest and principal, and amortize the debt until it's paid off, which he couldn't do because he wasn't in business yet. So I said to him, look, if you start your tour company, you start selling packages, even if you have to rent the buses, bring me back 2 years of income statements and financial statements showing that you have made a profit running a tour company, and there will be no problem at all getting the money to buy a bus if you can demonstrate the cash flow to service the debt. So he went away. About 2 years ago, 2011. So this would have been 4 or 5 years after I initially met Bill. I met him again. And he started talking with me, and it took a little while before I put 2 and 2 together and realized he was the bus guy. And I was, I think it was at a trade show or some sort of networking event. And so I, had my smiley face on, and I was being very cordial with everyone. And Bill started talking with me, and he said, I'm looking for a way to finance a bus because I want to start a tour company. And then I realized, and I said, hey, did you come and talk to me back in 06 or 07? And I explained where my office was at the time. And he said, yeah, I came down and talked to you. And I said, what did I tell you then? And it's very uncharacteristic for me to be all up in someone's face and, I guess taking a parental tone, I guess is maybe the right way to say it. So I said to this guy, what did I tell you back then? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, I told you, start your company, sell some tickets, make some profits, rent the bus, and after 2 years of profitable operations, I'll be able to get you the loan. To this day, you still haven't run any tours, have you? And he said, no. And I said, that's because you're not trying to start a tour company. And he said, yes, I am. I said, no, you're not. I said, if you were trying to start a tour company, you would be operating now. You are trying to buy a bus. That's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to start a tour company. You're trying to buy a bus. And in a video I did a couple days ago, I quoted, I think, Bloomberg, who was saying that in the first 18 months, 80% of entrepreneurs end up failing. And the reason ultimately that they end up failing is they just run out of money, or they don't have enough money to cover the bills, and they're forced to stop the business. And the primary contributor to someone running out of money is getting overhead expenses that are too onerous. The bill's too big every month. Something like a tour company is a fantastic type of business that you can start without acquiring huge overheads. I mean, if you did not have a bus payment, you can run a tour company from your kitchen table. You can advertise on social media. You can advertise online. Even if you did want to go into the newspaper, you're talking about an investment of a few $100s or something, not a mountain of money. So very limited risk. And if you couldn't sell enough tickets, then you would know, hey, this is not a business. This is not something to do, and you would back out of it, and maybe you'd be out a couple $100, maybe $1,000, So really, it's a perfect kind of business to be a startup. It's a perfect kind of business for someone who doesn't have a lot of money. You could start a tour company and require a deposit when people book their spot and the balance of payment before departure, and you would be there with the pile of money that you would need to pay the bus company and all the expenses. So you wouldn't even need operating capital for that kind of business, because people would prepay before you delivered the service. So I guess the point of my story is to have a properly defined goal. And if you want to be in a certain kind of business, be in that business. Do not get sidetracked by this idea that you need to somehow buy some big capital good like a bus or a building or a stove or something before you can be in business. Everyone's full of excuses about why they can't start today. And the reality is that the conditions for starting a business or buying a business or being in business are never going to be ideal. What it takes is simply the decision to start. Anyway, that's the story of the guy who's trying to buy a bus. And if you want to learn more about local deal making, about investing in local businesses, doing leases, loans, making great returns on the kind of deals that banks and financial institutions do, then you should buy my book, Invest Local, and you can get it on Amazon or from the blog site, investlocalbook.com. I've also got a free package up there of 15 of my business finance articles that were published in a business magazine here. You can download that for free, again, from my blog site. And my latest publication, Credit Card Advantage, is for business owners. And it's a book that talks about how to achieve strategic goals in your business through using credit cards. And that one is very inexpensive. Again, you can get it from my blog site, investlocalbook.com. It's also available on Kindle and will soon be available from Amazon in paperback. Thanks. Have a great day. Talk to you later.